Hi, everyone. My name is Kerry Bajaj. I am a baby sleep consultant and the author of Sleep Baby Sleep with HarperCollins. I have two daughters, and they have been sleeping happily through the night from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. since they were 7 months old. They're now age 4 and 5. And I got into this field of baby and child sleep consulting because when I moved from New York to Mumbai 3 years ago, the kids were really little. They were 6 months old and 2 years old. And I got a lot of questions about how they sleep and their sleep schedule and sleep training and all of that. And I could really see that people were struggling with sleep. I could completely empathize with it as a new mom myself. And there's one thing that kind of bothered me. I could hear that the message that parents get again and again when they ask for advice about sleep is it's just a phase, they'll grow out of it. And I really disagree with that. I feel that you can be proactive about shaping your child's sleep. And I very much wanted to share the tools that can help your child to get a good night's sleep, what's worked in my family, and then the research that I've done beyond that. Sleep is so important for your child's mood, for their growth, for their brain development, and for their immunity, which of course is more important now than ever. So for today, what I would like to do is share 5 tools. And these are things that can specifically help us right now at this moment where we're all stuck at home. So some of them are things that I just always use with all clients and that I talk about in the book. And then some are a little bit more specific to this particular lockdown. So the first one is white noise. I recommend using a white noise machine or using an app on your phone, essentially for every single parent who wants their baby to sleep better. And what white noise does is it provides this soothing, rumbly backdrop for sleep, and it helps to drown out the household noises. And right now, since our houses are like an office and a schoolhouse, and the poor kids are trying to nap and people are on conference calls, I think it's more important now than ever. So, by turning on white noise in your child's room when they're napping or at night when they're sleeping, we can just kind of drown out the rest of what's happening in the household. It really does help. In normal circumstances, I would recommend buying a white noise machine on Amazon. But for now, I recommend using an app. There's many apps that you can use on the phone. The one that I use is called Sleep Pillow. Sleep Pillow. So it's free. You just put it on, and I use the one in the top left corner. It's like a running stream, kind of like an ocean type of noise. If your child is not used to white noise right now, you can start at a low volume and you can just increase it a little bit day by day. And if you're not used to white noise and you're sharing a room with your child, same thing. Just start with the volume low and you can increase it a little bit. And people always ask me if their child will get addicted to it. I've never seen that to be a problem, ever. If you want to get off of white noise at some point in the future, all you have to do is just reduce the volume for a few days. And that's it. It's not hard to wean off of it. They don't get addicted to it. And the truth is, we always travel with our phones. So it's not a big deal. You can always use it on your phone. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about is schedule. For me as a sleep consultant, the daytime schedule is supremely important. It has a huge impact on how the baby sleeps at night. I really feel that routine and schedule are like a magic wand for parents that, in terms of keeping our babies and children happy, healthy, and secure. But of course, right now with the lockdown, our babies have nowhere to go. They have nowhere to be. They have no pressing deadlines. But still, as parents, we can create a little bit of a predictable routine for them. And it really helps them with having that sense of normalcy and safety. So for my daughters, what I've been doing is I've been creating kind of these anchors in the daytime. So it's kind of these points of stability. Of course, there's an ocean of free playtime, endless amounts of free play. But what we're doing is in the morning, right after breakfast, we're doing our math. We call it morning math. So that's our math lesson. It makes me feel good that we've kind of done one educational thing and we've kind of gotten it out of the way. When we eat lunch together, we're listening to the same exact podcast every single day at lunch. So again, that's giving them a little bit of an anchor. The podcast that I like, it's called Listen and Play by the BBC. And it's simple. It's just a storytelling podcast. I find that when I put it on at lunchtime, it really just helps them to sit down, so they're not running all around the house. It helps them to kind of sit and focus on eating their food. In the afternoon, we actually, after lunch, we've been doing, that's our designated time that we've been doing some screen time. So I mentioned my kids are age 4 and age 5. They're not napping anymore, but we all need some downtime. In normal circumstances, I'm not a big fan of screen time, but right now, this is not normal circumstances for any of us. So I find that by having the designated time for screen time, they're not bugging me during the rest of the day. And I'm getting my rest and my downtime, and they also are getting it too. Then in the afternoon, we do just like a little bit of reading and phonics. Late afternoon, this is another anchor that may help some of you guys. That's when we call our family. That's when we call the grandparents. So again, it's kind of at a predictable time instead of sporadically getting calls all day, because kids don't really like that when you're always picking up the phone. So we make our phone calls then. It at exactly this time, my husband does some physical activity with the kids. So he's trying to get them to break a sweat, get their heart rate up, and hopefully tire them out for bedtime. So basically, that is the way I'm looking at schedule right now. It makes no sense to be rigid. There's no point. But it does help the children to have some set points in the day that feel predictable for them, so that every day isn't just a free for all. Now, the third thing that I want to talk to you guys about is exercise. So I do one-on-one sleep consulting. I'm hearing this from so many parents right now. The kids are absolutely stir crazy. I mean, they're going nuts. They're going bonkers. Kids need physical activity. They thrive on it. And it's a challenge across the board for all of us right now. Let's remember movement is so important because it helps us release endorphins. Everyone is kind of stressed and anxious. Movement helps us to kind of process the stress and anxiety. And of course, just having the physical activity will help us sleep better at night. So I have a few ideas for you, even though we are stuck inside. Dance party. Just putting on videos, dance like videos or music, having a dance party. If you have any sort of small, like a kiddie tub, you could do some water play. There's Cosmic Kids Yoga, which is on YouTube. And a lot of people love that for getting the kids to do some yoga. Even inside the house, if you have a hallway, you could set up some hopscotch for them, or they could do relay races. You could have them do frog jumps down the hallway. There's another guy on YouTube. I think it's called, I'll double check, but it's called PE with Joe. He's doing a workout video in the mornings. And honestly, I've seen people be so creative. I've seen videos of kids that are biking indoors, that are roller skating indoors, that are skateboarding inside the house. So just be creative with whatever you have and try and get them moving at least 3 times a day. So that, their bodies can feel good. The next thing that I want to talk about is actually sleep training. If your child is not sleeping well, this might be a good time to work on some sleep training, which essentially you could do for any baby that's over 6 months of age. I recently spoke to a mom of twins. She of course had to let go of all of her part-time help during this lockdown. She has a job in banking, which is now work from home, and she's really exhausted from the night wake-ups that used to be handled by her nanny. And so right now, her elderly mother is handling one of the twins, and she is handling the other twin for the night wake-ups. And it's just really taking a toll, and she's kind of seeing that, like, this is not functional for me and for my elderly mother, and also the kids aren't really sleeping well. So for babies that are over 6 months, you can do sleep training. You can work on proactively shaping their sleep patterns so that you don't have so many night wakings. I do go through it in detail in my book. This is Sleep Baby Sleep. So in here, I talk about how to approach sleep training. I also talk about newborn sleep, baby sleep, toddler sleep, and I go through all of the schedules from age 0 up to 4 years. So that means the nap schedules and the nighttime schedules. So I feel like there was one thing I missed, but we can also open it up for questions in a minute. Oh, yes, I know the one thing that I missed. This is another big one that I always recommend to all of my clients. So what's happening right now with the kids at home not getting enough physical activity is that bedtime keeps getting later and later. So what we can do is one of the things we can do to try and bring bedtime back down to a more reasonable hour is really simple. All you have to do is just dim the lights after sunset. So I think I'm in Mumbai. I think the sun is setting around 7 o'clock at night. So when that happens, we really build a connection with our kids that sunset time equals bedtime. And so we dim the lights. What I tell people to do is turn off at least half of the overhead lights in your house. The bright white tube lights. We want those to go off. And if you have a lamp, just put a lamp on instead. And just let the energy shift, set the mood, and start building that connection that, oh, look, the sun has set. Oh, look, it's so dark outside. So that your kids can start having a connection between sunset and bedtime. That's one of the really easy ways to start shifting bedtime a little bit earlier. Okay, now I am looking at your questions. Let's see. Okay, there are a bunch of twin parents on here. Yeah. How do you sleep train 3-month-old twins? Okay, you can't sleep train 3-month-old twins, but what you can do is simply work on their daytime schedule. So you can try and give them a really nice, predictable schedule during the day. You can try to set your morning wake up time to be fairly consistent every day. So, obviously it won't be 7 o'clock on the dot every single morning, but you can try to get it so that it's between 7 and 7:30 a.m., for example, or between 8 and 8:30 a.m., so that starts to become the anchor for your day. And then you want to be giving naps very frequently throughout the day for your 3-month-old babies. You want to honor their age appropriate awake windows. And you want to do certain activities, like just build a rhythm for your day so that you're always giving the bath at the same time. You're always giving the massage at the same time. You always go out on the balcony at the same time. If they have like a swing that they jump in, that they always go there at the same time. So at that age, it's all about just building out a rhythm. Okay, I'm looking at the questions. People were like, okay, cute. Okay. Okay, this is interesting. My twin babies sleep through the day and are up the whole night. How do you change the cycle? Okay, and this was the same question. This was the same person who has the 3-month-old twins. Yeah, so you can definitely work on that at this age. The way that I would work on that is I would I would basically not let them sleep for more than 2 hours at any given point in the day. So if they're taking a nap and it's running really long, what I would do is I would go into the room. So after 2 hours, I would go into the room, I would open up the curtains, I would turn off the white noise. I would wait a few minutes. So I want to be really gentle about waking up a baby from their nap. I would wait a few minutes. I would let the household noises come in and, just make noise in the hallway, make noise in the living room. And then I would give them a few minutes. And then I would gently go in and I would scoop up the baby and I would offer the baby a feed and I would start their awake time. I would give them a feed, I would change them, I would play with them, I would put them on the floor mat, give them some tummy time. And then after about probably 90 minutes, I would put them down for the next nap. A lot of times people feel bad waking up a baby from their nap, but when they're so little, you know that they're going to be napping again very soon. So I don't feel bad about that because, again, we're proactively shaping their schedule. We want them to sleep for their naps, but we want their big chunks of sleep to be happening at nighttime. And again, if your babies are sleeping all through the day and are up the whole night, I would really work with nature. I would work with light. I would make sure that the curtains are wide open all day long. As much as possible, I would get sunlight for them. In the morning, if you have a balcony, go out on the balcony, have the babies take a sun bath. Let them be outside for 15 minutes on the balcony. That helps send a message to their pineal gland in their brain that it's daytime. And similarly, when the sun sets, I would pull those curtains, I would dim the lights, I would make sure that they're not getting exposure to artificial light after sunset, because that is going to send a message to their brain that it's nighttime, it's time to sleep. And then their bodies will produce melatonin, which is the sleep hormone. So that will help them to sleep. Now, there's one question coming through about how do I train my baby to sleep through the night? That's a little tricky for me to answer because I don't know your baby's age. But let's assume that they're over 6 months old. Essentially, how you work on helping them sleep through the night is you start at bedtime. So you work with whatever sleep associations that you currently have at bedtime. Let's say, for example, that you're rocking the baby to sleep for 20 minutes at bedtime. So what you would want to do, and the baby's falling asleep in your arms, and then once they're in deep sleep, you're transferring them to the cot, and then you're tiptoeing out of the room. So essentially, babies don't really like that. They do once they cross 5 or 6 months of age, they don't like to live in one way and then wake up somewhere else. They feel upset about the inconsistency of that. So what I would do is I would try to reduce the 20 minutes of rocking to sleep. This is very valuable advice because as your baby gets heavier, rocking becomes backbreaking. And so if you can reduce the 20 minutes of rocking and say only rock them to sleep for like 5 minutes, and then they'll still be awake. Then you'll set them down in the cot and they will be awake, which is a different way of doing things. And then you can get a chair. You can park your chair right next to their cot and you can do some patting and shushing from that position until they fall asleep. And they might struggle with it a little bit because that's a new way of falling asleep. They've never done that before. But you can be right there. You can give moral support. But essentially, you're trying to kind of pass the baton. You're trying to support them through being able to develop some independent sleeping skills. And if they're able to fall asleep in that lying down position, that'll be really, really helpful for them and for you in the long run. Because instead of falling asleep in your arms and then getting transferred and then getting upset later on when they wake up and realize, oh, I'm not in your arms anymore and I need to be back in your arms in order to fall back asleep, they'll simply be learning how to fall asleep in that lying down position in the cot. So that is, I go into a lot more detail about this in Sleep Baby Sleep, but that is kind of the essence of how you can do that. The next question I see is, I'm practicing co-sleeping right now with my 6-month-old baby, but I want to start putting her in the crib. At what age can I start that? Also, how do I do it? Because she gets very clingy. You can start now. The age 5, 6, 7 months is a great time if you're going to make changes to the way that your baby sleeps. This is a really good time to do it because they're little, so they pick up on new patterns very quickly. The only way to do it is by doing it. I would start at bedtime. Usually it's more effective to make changes at bedtime versus in the middle of the night or during nap time. So I would start at bedtime. Same thing that I just described. I would hold her, rock her for 5 minutes, and then I would place her in the crib. And then I would sit right there and do patting and shushing until she falls asleep. And it might take her half an hour to fall asleep on the first night of doing that. And that's completely fine. You can be there with her, you can help her through it. Yeah, she'll probably get clingy, but keep in mind that separation anxiety will peak around 8 months. So your 6-month-old baby is better equipped to handle this shift into the crib rather than if you delay it for longer and longer. Okay, this says, my son is 7 months old and I think it means doesn't want to sleep in the daytime. What to do? Okay, so at 7 months old, he needs 3 naps. So he has to sleep in the daytime, according to me. I would basically, whenever he wakes up in the morning, I would make his first nap be 2.5 hours later. I find that when you follow that awake window, exactly 2.5 hours at this age, it tends to work really well. So if he's waking up, let's say at 7 a.m., I would put him for nap number 1 at 9:30 a.m. And I think he should go down pretty easily. And I would want that nap to be about 1 hour long or 1.5 hours long. And then after that, I would do the next nap, again, 2.5 hours later. And then I would do the third nap is your cat nap. That's a short nap in the evening. That again should be about 2 hours later. Let him take a short cat nap for like half an hour. And then about 2 hours and 15 minutes later would be bedtime. So for that, I do recommend looking at the book because I do have all of your schedules in there. But my short answer is that if your awake window is way too big or if it's way too small for your 7-month-old baby, that could be the issue. And then I would also make sure that the house is a little bit calm and I would use your white noise because okay, this is a cool question. I'm a dad and I have a 5-month-old baby. My wife is working and I want to help her with her sleep at night. How to help her? The baby feeds 3 times at night. Okay, that's so nice of you to ask. One thing you could do is you could be the person that puts the baby to bed. So your wife could give the final feed before bedtime, and then you could put the baby to sleep at bedtime. If she is feeding directly, she'll have to do those feeds. But if she's expressing milk at all, if you're doing any bottle feeds, you could be doing one of those feeds. And soon enough, the baby will be able to reduce feeds also. And then the other thing you could help with, I say this on behalf of all moms everywhere, in the morning, you could be the person that kind of goes in first thing in the morning and scoops up the baby and gives a really bright, cheerful wake up, opens the curtains, turns off the white noise, gives, maybe you won't be able to give the feed, but you could change the diaper, change the clothes. And if your wife is giving the feed, maybe just hand the baby to her to give the feed. And then you could take the baby back and start playtime with the baby. I'm sure she would appreciate that a lot. Now, let's see. What Oh, okay. This is interesting. What activities do you recommend for a 14-month-old toddler for being tired in the evening? Okay, so here's the thing. Um, the reason this sounds interesting to me is I want to look at the whole day. So for a 14-month-old toddler, let's assume that they're on one nap a day. What's going to happen is we have their morning wake up time, and then their nap will be about 6 hours later. So what this means is if the baby is waking up at 7 a.m., the nap will be at 1 p.m. And that nap should not go longer than about 2 hours, let's say from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m., maybe a little bit longer because they're young. But for toddlers that are on one nap a day, I generally think of it as being about 2 hours long. So they woke up at 7, nap is at 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock, and then bedtime can be 5 hours later. So bedtime could be at 8 p.m. With this schedule that I'm describing, the baby is getting 11 hours of night sleep, which is very important. We want our babies to be getting 11 hours of continuous night sleep, 11 to 12 hours. So activities can be in the morning or in the afternoon. I'm not necessarily wanting to tire out babies right before bed. So in general, you want to be doing, like I mentioned before, hopscotch, relay races. You could be, doing pillow fights. Anything that you can do inside the house works. Cosmic Kids yoga was something that we talked about. And you should be doing active physical stuff in the morning before their nap and in the afternoon. Now, when we get closer to the 8 o'clock bedtime, we really want to be winding things down. We want to be closing the curtains and dimming the lights after sunset. We want to be giving a bath. We want to be cuddling and reading books together and making sure that things are getting nice and calm. So I wouldn't really think about, tiring out the baby right before bedtime. Okay. This is interesting. All your questions are great. As my baby of 3 months old is on formula feed, how should I put her to sleep? So essentially, you should give her so at bedtime you would give her final feed about 30 minutes before bedtime, and then you can do the rest of your bedtime routine. That could be a lullaby, massage, lotion, singing a song, reading a book, anything that you're putting into your routine, saying prayers, anything like that. And then to put her to sleep, I would kind of rock her in the arms for a few minutes, and then I would set her down and I would just pat. I would just pat like her stomach, and just kind of be with her, and then see if she can kind of drift off to sleep like that. Um, that's what I would do. And then what's this question? Okay. My baby sometimes suckles all night. If I move away, she wakes up and cries. How to get rid of this habit? Okay. And this was the person who said their baby is 6 months old. Um, okay. So if I move away, she wakes up and cries. How to get rid of this habit? Well, since you were interested, hold on one second. Hello? Okay. Sorry, guys, that was Andrea from BabyChakra. Since you were interested in shifting her to the cot, let me just check if she's messaging. Okay. Yeah, since you were interested in shifting her to the cot, you could shift her. And then I think that the habit will change naturally on its own. Okay, guys, thank you so much. Have an amazing day and wishing very good sleep for all of your babies. Okay, see you soon. Bye.